Hello, and thank you to those of you who are taking the time to listen to the music department's proposal for some new steps in our COVID mitigation within our classrooms. The thing we would like to start with is explaining to you what we are currently doing in our classroom so you can understand our reasoning for suggesting some changes. So, for what is currently happening within our classrooms in the choir level, at the middle school, we are not singing at all. No student in the middle school has been singing at school, inside or outside. We are humming minimally, and we are partaking in activities such as Choir Survivor, Choir Olympics, games and challenges for the kids to be engaged in. We are social distancing at all times, 6 feet in the choir room with 7th and 8th grade. 6th grade, that's a little more difficult because they're not cohorted, but we are separating to the best of our ability, even though we aren't singing. And then students are singing at home on their virtual days. At the high school, we are not singing inside at all. We are singing outside occasionally at 13 feet apart each direction, and we are humming inside as well. We are doing musical activities on their Chromebooks, both in school and at home, and we are social distancing at 6 feet at all times, whether they're in the choir room or the auditorium. If we have groups split, we're doing that so we can allow for that social distancing. In addition, singers' masks have been provided for each student so that we can mitigate as much as possible within our classroom.
Hello, everybody. I'm here to tell you what the bands are doing in River Falls right now. Our band boosters sewed a bunch of masks for us that are designed to block aerosol production around the wind players' faces. And then also the band director sent out videos, and each student was responsible for making their own bell cover. And then we had some other parents step up and do some extras for us for kids who didn't have the resources. Our chairs and stands are sprayed down at the end of each day with disinfectants, and we got a bunch of paper folders, which means kids aren't sharing anything, and they're not sharing any music, and they can be spaced out appropriately then. At the middle school, our 6th grade is not actually playing right now. Their classes are too big, and Mr. Fuller is there by himself for 6th grade. So they spend their time doing theory type work, music concept discussions, general music type stuff. And then all of their playing is done online in lessons, and Mr. Fuller has modified his daily schedule so that they can do that after school and in the evenings. 7th and 8th grade band is playing indoors at a distance of 13 feet at the middle school, and they're doing lessons once per week in small groups online. At the high school, we're all playing outside. There's 3 large tents set up in the student parking lot, and that whole setup is set up and taken down each day, including the chair stands and all the concert percussion. There's been no playing indoors yet, and the high school groups will not fit inside the band room at a separation of 13 feet if and when that happens. And there's also no lessons happening currently in the high school. Thank you.
Here are the current difficulties and issues we have with our current situation. No choir students have been singing to date.
6th grade band students cannot and have not played their instruments in school.
We can't effectively develop or assess playing and singing skills when we're not performing in school.
We have had some students drop out of our programs specifically because they aren't able to play their instruments or sing in class. When they are able to play and sing 13 feet apart, that puts students on an island and negatively affects the confidence they have when playing or singing.
Overall, our goals are to give kids as normal of an experience as possible. We're hoping to give them an outlet to express themselves, create, and build community. The kids are eager to sing and play and get back into the routine they know and love. Our goal, as always, has been to make music and make good kids throughout this process.
Specifically, we're requesting that we are allowed to follow the National Association of Music Education guidelines, which would allow us to play and sing 6 to 9 feet apart, or more as our individual rehearsal spaces allow, with masks and instrumental bell covers inside for all of our ensembles.
You might ask why we as music teachers are so passionate about both safety and performing for our students, and it's really easy to us. We look at this. We see the passion, we see the time, we see the dedication, we see what the performing arts can give to our students and why they so desperately need it. So therefore, we're willing to go and look at the research. The most current article that we saw was a September 17th article where the current research is suggesting that wearing masks and limiting the time that's spent on an activity has a huge impact on the spread of aerosols. The singing APS slide that you see simply shows the rate of aerosol transmission in the spikes by people who are not using masks. And then where it falls off, it says singing with the mask, singing with the pantyhose screen, and just sitting and breathing. And we see that with those masks, that the levels drop significantly. Here is a second slide that shows wind instruments and also the voice and theater. And it shows what the impact of a mute or a fabric bell cover makes and different kinds of masks. And it shows very significantly that when you don't use anything and have no way of changing your aerosols, then you have a very high rate, and it drops off significantly with the use of coverings. As a result, here are the 5 principal takeaways. Masks, distance, time, airflow, and hygiene. And if we follow those, we're going to be able to make this the safest opportunity while still performing. In order to keep the arts ed safe at school, the National Federation of State High School Associations and the National Association for Music Education all support masking and a distance of 6 feet both inside and outside with the mask, and cutting down the timing, practicing good hygiene, having airflow in between. All of these can have a significant impact when we're trying to stop the spread of COVID.
Obviously, safety is at the forefront of our proposal here. I wanted to take a moment and just walk through some of the plans and procedures that we have in place and are working on to help make this happen and to help create a safe environment for our students. First off, we're going to make sure that we're utilizing all the space available to us. The band rooms, choir rooms, auditorium stages and auditorium seating areas, the dance studio at the high school, the general music classroom at the middle school, and as weather permits, outdoor space, although with the upcoming winter weather that may be limited. We're going to work on creating a schedule that allows for rotation between band and choir, that also allows for time for air dispersion between use. While in those facilities, we're going to space out as much as we can, even potentially beyond the 6 to 9 feet that's recommended. Our younger students already feel like they're on an island when they're 13 feet away, and so the closer we can be, the better. But for some of our older students, we may be able to expand that a little bit. For most classes, we can split into smaller cohorts than we're currently in. For instance, our class of 23, 25 students at the high school, we might be able to split into a 12 and a 13, utilizing both the teachers that we have available to us. 6th grade is a little different because Mike Fuller is the only one there during 6th grade band, and that number is very large right now. We're working with Mr. Chapin to find the space and have the ability to split that 6th grade band up even further so that we can have the opportunity to play in that ensemble, which is crucial for their development. We're still going to utilize all of the PPE that we have available to us. We had an amazing group of volunteers, band boosters, and parents create singing and playing masks for us. We had parents and families and students create bell covers for our instruments. We bought towels for condensation or spit cleanup. So a student will take a clean towel every day, use it to potentially empty spit or condensation onto, throw it in a bucket on their way out of the room, and then we'll take care of washing those on a weekly basis so that we don't have to reuse them at all. We're going to make sure that students have their own individual folders and music and other materials, that they're not sharing instruments or anything like that. We are going to make sure that during class they're not sharing stands, and then after class we'll make sure that we're sanitizing chairs, stands, and any other shared or high-touch surfaces, including percussion. Thank you.